Добрый день, коллеги. Айгер, мы начинаем, да? Или ждем?
Думаю, можем начать,
Коллеги,
да?
что предложат? Может быть, минут 3, если разрешите, да? Подождем минут 3 или 2.
Ну давайте.
Да. Сейчас который час? 14:01. Еще давайте минут 4 подождем, да, и все, начинаем. Вы сразу начинайте, Айгер. Спасибо вам.
Хорошо,
Всем
хорошо.
удачи.
Рахмет, спасибо. У нас все понимают английский язык, да, участники? Если нет, то мы можем на русском, да, провести тогда. Уважаемые участники, все понимаете английский язык, да? Do all of you understand English?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, shall we start? I think time is up, yeah? Let's start. Welcome to University Bridge. University Bridge is an initiative aimed at fostering collaboration and knowledge exchange between early career researchers at Nazarbayev University and their counterparts at various universities across Kazakhstan. Shortly, I would like to provide an overview of Nazarbayev University and University Bridge, and then I would like to give the floor to the Mahsud Narikbayev University, in particular Janat Kairatov, to shortly tell us about Mahsud Narikbayev University. Yeah, so let's start. So today I will be a moderator, and my name is Aygirim Kajigalieva. And you can see on the screen, on the poster, our speakers and presenters. Today, Yasir Khan, a PhD student from Nazarbayev University Graduate School of Education, will present his presentation on culture of integrity and ethics. Artyom Zadorozhny, from our alumni from Nazarbayev University Graduate School of Education. Currently, he is in Hong Kong at the Education University of Hong Kong, and he will present his presentation on generative artificial intelligence. And we've got two speakers from Narikbayev University. They are Dinara Muhamedjanova and Gulfiya Kuchumova, and they will present two presentations on publishing with integrity and avoiding plagiarism. And Gulfiya Kuchumova will present her presentation on research data management. So on the screen, you can see the works of Graduate School of Nazarbayev University Graduate School of Education on research and methodological publications. I will share in chat. I will put a link in chat, and you can see and have an access to this wonderful works on clear classroom practices in multilingual education in Kazakhstan, guidelines and examples, on corporate governance, University of Kazakhstan, on introduction to educational research theory, methods and practices, on sustainability of universities in relation to the financing model of the higher education system in the Republic of Kazakhstan during the transition period, And one of the things that in particular refers to our today's topic, webinar's topic, is a code of ethics for educational research in Kazakhstan. Maybe some of you will be interested in reading it. It was published in both languages, Kazakh and Russian. Also, development of educational programs, local responses to global challenges of higher education, and finally, development of a syllabus from the quality of the syllabus to the quality of training. So let's move on. On this slide, you can see that the goal of the University Bridge, as I have already mentioned, it was a student initiative aimed at fostering collaboration and knowledge exchange between early career researchers at Nazarbayev University and their counterparts in various Kazakhstani universities. We have already conducted a number of sessions with many universities, local universities and regional universities in Kazakhstan with more than 733 participants. And the goal of the University Bridge is to promote cooperation between early career researchers at Nazarbayev University and other Kazakhstani universities. The key topics discussed within the University Bridge, you can see on the slides: research methods, academic writing, literature review, multilingual education. And today's webinar will be dedicated to research ethics, then qualitative and quantitative data analysis, and the exchange of experience in the field of teaching and research. Let's move on. Let me shortly tell about Nazarbayev University. As you know, the university was founded at the initiative of the first president of the Republic of Kazakhstan. It was established in 2010. A language of instruction is English. It's an English medium university. The status of Nazarbayev University is a research university. We've got faculty from more than 55 countries of the world. And then as the student body, more than 7,000, including international students. As you know, recently Nazarbayev became one of the leading universities in Central Asia, based on the World University Ranking 2024. And on this slide, you can see that the core values of Nazarbayev University is research. Research driven by intellectual curiosity, seeking local and global impact, embracing diversity, equal access to education, merit-based institution, academic integrity, professionalism, and high ethical principles for students, faculty, and researchers. These are the topics we're going to discuss today also. And then transparency and openness. On this slide, you can see that Nazarbayev University went through international accreditations, and you can see the types of accreditations like British Association of Lecturers in English for academic purposes, European Association for Public Administration Accreditation, Network of Schools of Public Policy, Affairs and Administration, and many others. Nazarbayev University also has got a number of partner universities, one of the top universities in the world, such as, for example, the University of Pennsylvania, strategic partners. One of the strategic partners of the Graduate School of Education at Nazarbayev University, Duke University, the University of Pittsburgh, Colorado School of Mines, the National University of Singapore, the University of Wisconsin Madison in the United States. You can see also on this particular slide that 10 reasons to apply to NU. Our graduates work at different organizations, and you can see the types of companies they work at, employers. One of the top companies like Google, McKinsey, Amazon, Stanford University, and so on and so forth. Let's move on. And this slide tells us about the schools, integration of education and research. So there are a number of schools at Nazarbayev University, like Center for Preparatory Studies, School of Graduate School of Education, the School of Engineering and Digital Sciences, School of Mining and Geosciences, Graduate School of Business, Graduate Schools of Public Policy, and the School of Medicine and School of Sciences and Humanities. Also, we've got different types of programs within these schools, like foundation year program, undergraduate program, 0 year of graduate programs, master's program, PhD programs, doctor of medicine, and residency. You can see also, these are the types of programs we have. For example, at the School of the Center for Preparatory Studies, we've got Nazarbayev University Foundation Year Program, Nazarbayev University 0 year of graduate programs, then undergraduate programs, quite a number of different programs, master's programs, PhD programs within the School of Medicine, School of Mining and Geosciences, and School of Sciences and Humanities has got quite a number of programs for undergraduate students, master's programs and PhD programs. And then School of Engineering offers quite a number of programs and digital sciences, undergraduate programs, master's programs and PhD programs. Graduate School of Business also offers quite a number of programs, undergraduate programs like Bachelor of Business Administration, master's programs in Finance, Business Administration, Executive Business Administration, Executive MBA, and then PhD Administration. And now you can see the programs of Graduate School of Education. And I am also an alumni of the program of multilingual education, as well as Artem Zadorozhny has graduated from this program, is a graduate of this program, alumni, multilingual education, and then educational leadership program, school education, higher education, inclusive education, Gulfiya Kuchumova, Dinara Muhamedjanova. I am also, as well as Yasser, we are currently, and also Gulfiya and Dinara were PhD students at Graduate School of Education and got their degree from Graduate School of Education, PhD in Education. And also finally, the Graduate School of Public Policy, GSPP, offers programs like master's programs and PhD programs in public policy and public administration. So welcome to our schools. You can see that at Nazarbayev University, students with good academic standing, GPA, can participate in academic mobility programs, exchange programs with strategic partners or other partners of the respective schools, and also internship programs abroad, summer, winter schools, and conferences. So these are all the partnerships, additional one, the student mobility programs in the university where students have got the chance to study at. We've got also a vibrant student life at university, quite a number of organizations. And if you would like to become a part of a new community, feel free to contact the university admissions office, and these are the contacts of the applicant support center. So thank you for your attention. And now I would stop my presentation and would like to give the floor to representative of the Mahsud Нарибаев University. The floor is yours. Слово вам предоставляется, Махсуд Нарибаев университет. Ой, вас не слышно? Включите микрофон. Жанат?
Hi, everyone, and thank you for the wonderful presentation with our office, actually. I'm a manager for the postgraduate and PhD programs at Mahsud Naribаев University. Once again, thank you very much. And I guess this university bridges, the university bridge will show its results in a future and prosper collaboration, and knowledge sharing. Well, first of all, just a second, sorry. So today I was invited in the framework of the university bridge. So I'd like to share the basic information about the Mahsud Naribаев University. Our university has four higher schools. Let me name them. First one is Higher School of Law, International School of Economics, the second one, and the third one, International School of Journalism, which was founded with the support of the President Kassym-Jomart Kemelyevich Tokayev and the Teleradio Center. Also, the fourth one, for the last but not least, the Higher School of Social Sciences. Basically, as a postgraduate and PhD manager, I would like to point your attention to the master programs that we have and that I actually present usually to the newcomers, to the school leavers, university leavers. Sorry. That is the law, international law, competitive law, and IT law. That is for the Higher School of Law, surely, yeah, definitely. The second is master programs for the translation studies, a applied linguistics and psychology. Also, we have these disciplines are taught in the Higher School of Social Sciences at the MNU, and also the economics and finances. Our university also the first one to obtain the British International QAA accreditation in the post-Soviet and in Central Asia. So we have 8 international accreditations, such as CIMA, FIBA, CCA, yeah, and the new one is QAA. Well, and yeah, and we also have double degree diplomas with the Martin Luther University, mostly with German universities, and Wismar University. Sorry, yeah. So I guess shortly, just briefly introducing the university, yeah, and we have 2 PhD programs, which are law and economics. Yeah. So just shortly, without the presentation, we've been caught off guard. So we apologize for the lack of the presentation, but I think what I've told you is yeah is very short, but yeah, that describes our main areas. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Janat. It was very interesting to listen to this information. Yeah, and I'm sure that those people who are interested in your programs can check the website of the university, yeah, and also can contact you, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm basically recalling your presentation. So we also have the academic mobility programs as well as double degree diplomas, and around 100 partner universities around 33 countries of the world, of the globe. So what else? Yeah, and 50% of our teachers they are either candidates or the professor status, so which is also a high percentage, I guess. Well, just what I've recalled. Thank you once again for your attention. Yeah, yeah, and once again, thank you for organizing such a bridge. Thank you.
Thank you for joining. And I would like to give the floor to the next speaker, Gulfiya Kuchumova from Maksut Narikbayev University. She's also our graduate. She has got her PhD degree from Nazarbayev University Graduate School of Education, and she will present her presentation on research data management. Gulfiya, the floor is yours. Gulfiya?
Hello, everyone. So today's my presentation is about research data management. So I'm going to switch it on. So can you see?
Yes.
Good. So I'm going to talk today about research data management. So exactly, we are focusing on what research data management is, why we need research data management, and how we manage research data when we work as researchers. I would like to start today's presentation with a question, and I ask participants of today's seminar to use their mobiles and scan the QR code in order to answer the question on the screen. What are research data? Yeah? How do you understand research data? So I will wait for, I think, 2-3 minutes. So can you access?
Yes, it works.
Okay. Yeah, somebody's already typing the answer. So let's wait for a while and then we will see straight away all answers on the screen. Yeah, you can reflect about types of research data, as well as what research data according to your understanding, yeah? So Alina, please use the QR code in order to respond to the question. So we have research data. Research data can be raw. Responses, I hope these are from participants. We have such words as data analysis, information, good. Research as service and interviews as data collection methods, yeah, with the help of which we collect data. Collected, conducted, serves, physical. Observations is relevant, okay. Research results, yeah, a lot of answers. Validating is also quite important here because data and how you collect data, it depends, yeah, on the validity of your research. Okay, so we go next. Data can be of different types depending what field or what discipline you're working within. So research data can be numeric, it can be textual information, it can be different recordings when we record interviews, videotapes, it can be different images as well as specimens. So for example, in sciences, in archaeology, history, they collect some objects, artifacts, some samples, tissues in order to analyze something, yeah, explore some questions. So it is also important to remember that data is one of the crucial parts of the research process. Based on data that you collect, you draw your conclusions. And also depending on what discipline you're working within, so research data can vary, some research data can prevail, yeah, in one of the fields. So we have such a definition of research data. So this is recorded factual material commonly accepted by the scientific community as necessary to validate findings. To collect data and also manage data or prepare data for analysis can be a very time-consuming task. Sometimes it can be daunting. We can get struggle. So that's why it is important to know what kind of steps, strategies, and practices you can use in order to properly collect your data and store this data. Because depending on how you manage your data, your quality of your research, validity, reliability, or reproducibility of your findings, yeah, will be either on high quality or not. In literature, there is such a definition of research data management. This is a body of knowledge describing how to organize and store research data efficiently throughout the data life cycle. So actually, it is crucial to remember the data that we collect under a particular research project can outlive research project. It is later, after maybe 3, 5, 7, or 10 years after completing a project, we can return back to our data and try to explore new questions. So that's why it is critical to collect your data and store it properly. So let's look at the second question. It is how researchers benefit from proper research data management. So as already been mentioned, that the quality of data ensures the quality of your research. It is your research can benefit from ensuring reproducible data. It is other researchers can use your data in order to replicate your research or your study in a new context. And if they come to the same conclusions, to the same findings, it means that your study will be credible. So, and in general, when researchers share raw data with each other, it means that this ensures credibility and robustness of scientific data. The second benefit of research data management is the efficient collaboration. So nowadays, we have international projects in globalized world, such projects that address global issues. And in order to efficiently and quickly share data with your partners that can be located around the world, you need to develop specific structures, schemes of how to manage your data so that everybody can access it quickly and not not wasting their time in finding a particular type of data they need for analysis. So there's proper research data management saves your time and money. There is no need to return back to recollect your data. The third benefit of research data management is long-term access. As I already mentioned, you can return to your data and analyze some new questions. Yes, you reuse your data. Or for example, when you collect a big data set consisting of various forms of data, such data can be used later by other researchers, by a broader research community. So this helps to make research process more efficient, not only for you, but also to maybe your colleagues. Next benefit of research data management is data security. Yes, it allows researchers to ensure integrity of research process. So here it is important to remember that we as researchers are responsible to conduct research in a proper way to protect privacy and security of our participants. So that if you properly manage your data, if you select secured data storage, for example, clouds, you will minimize data loss and also unauthorized access to your data. And finally, research data management benefits, you benefit when you develop research data management practices or strategies that allow you to comply with regulations and funding requirements. So for example, nowadays, different research institutions and funders, they require from researchers some guidelines or kind of strategy that they're going to use in order to manage their data. Sometimes this plan is required when you apply for a research grant, or maybe later when a research grant is granted to you. So this is important to remember, that research data management is one of the crucial steps in applying for grants, in conducting research, and then later in storing and preserving your data. So, research data management consists of several stages. So here I have key 5 stages. This is planning, organizing your data management, storing, sharing, and preservation. So let's discuss each of the steps in detail. So planning, this step consists of thinking about your data, what type of data you will collect and in what quantity, how you're going to collect this data, how you will store this data, and also you need to think about some sharing policies, how you will share your data, what kind of procedures you will use in order to tackle data collection, data storage, and data sharing processes. On this stage, you also need to think about copyright and IP issues in this intellectual property rights. Because, for example, if data is collected under external funding, it means that data can be owned by a funder or an institution you're working in. And so when you decide to leave, for example, this institution, this data should be left in this organization, in this institution, so that they have access to this data to further the analysis, or maybe to share this data with other researchers. These questions are also crucial in order to specify what kind of budget you will need to ensure proper storage of your data. Because probably if you collect a lot of data, you will need additional hardware or software to store this data. And finally, you should decide who will be responsible for data preservation, for data storage, probably who will have access to this data within your team, as if you work in a big research team. So sharing or assigning roles among people who are working with. So next stage is organization. It is after collecting data, you need to think how you will organize your data, how you will structure it so that everybody can easily access and find necessary information. The first thing to think about is labeling, naming your data files. So here I have an example, this part, where you can name your files according to when your data was collected, who was the participant, what was research site, and who was responsible for data collection. It is this naming, or as a team or as a PI, you can develop some naming conventions, and these conventions should be systematically used so that similar files with the same types of data collected in one folder. Another useful technique is creating metadata or special README files. This is especially useful when you have big data sets. So actually metadata is data or information about data, and it can be of two types. So metadata can be embedded or supporting. So embedded metadata means that you insert some information about your data into the data itself. So here I have an example of header that presents additional information about your data that can be incorporated into interview transcripts, where you can indicate setting, where the interview was conducted, who were speakers, when this data collection took place, who transcribed the data, and any additional notes. So it is when you have not very big data sets, so embedded metadata technique can be quite useful. Another is supporting metadata, and usually it is used when we have big databases. For example, it can be some international projects on collecting data, for example, as in corpus linguistics. Corpus linguistics, this is a branch of linguistics that deals with big data sets consisting of verbal data, some texts, samples of different discourses, and so on. And here I have a screenshot from the reference guideline to the British National Corpus. So if you can see this guideline, a kind of README file, presents information about how this corpus was developed, what kind of texts it contains, how tagging was accomplished. So there's very detailed information about all the abbreviations, file names. I guess you read this guideline before starting working with big data set, because usually big data sets can be used by different researchers in order to research and explore different research questions. So next point is to be consistent in naming, in structuring your data set. And of course, if you have a lot of different files, be logical in developing structure of your database. So use hierarchy, do not overlap categories. It is different types, different information. Data should go to different folders, and also not develop too deep structure. It is hierarchy should not be very long. Next step is storage. So there's, in order to securely store your data, you can either use your personal storages, cloud storages, for example, or use institutional repositories or local service. For this, you need to contact IT department in your organization and ask about secured and long-term opportunities for saving your data. Plus, if you use secure data storages, you can ensure security of your data, so just protect privacy and confidentiality of your participants. Next step, the fourth one is sharing your data. So as I said, nowadays in collaborative environment, when we work internationally with different partners, so we can share our data with collaborators, partners from different organizations, like government and maybe industry, but also with broader scientific community. And you can do this by placing your data set in data repositories, either institutional, maybe local, as well as include supplementary materials into a scholarly paper, and it is often required by publishers nowadays, because when you have open data, it is believed that it increases your citation score. Or you can share your data directly by sending via email some data sets, or maybe a link to the data set where you store your data. So often researchers also develop DOIs for their data sets, CDS, digital objects identifiers. So you can go to different or email to different DOI organizations, some specific agencies, that assign DOIs for data sets. Get some instruction how to prepare your data for DOI, and then upload your data and share this DOI with your colleagues and broader community, scientific community. And finally, the last stage in research data management, this is preservation. So as I have already mentioned, we researchers preserve data in order to use it in later stages of our careers. Probably we can use it later, develop long-term use. Sometimes peer reviewers also ask for access to data in order to analyze, not to analyze, but review your manuscripts. For this, we usually archive data, place them in trusted repositories, assign persistent identifiers, and think about backup. It is always when you work on your computer, for example, and save your data in hard disk, then you need to synchronize or ensure that there is some additional storage that ensures backup for your data. And you can easily find this data or access the data from different technologies, using different technologies. Yes, I finished with my presentations. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Gulfiya, for your quite interesting presentations. It was very insightful and I think useful, to discuss what research data is actually, data, research findings, these notions of validity, reliability, and so on and so forth, And I hope it was very interesting for the students as well as our colleagues here from the universities to listen to what is RDMI, and what is data, how to collect it, how to store it, how to share it. Quite an interesting, one of the key things to know is copyright, IP issues, budgeting, and also responsibility roles, and so on and so forth. So thank you so much, and I hope I myself also learned a lot in terms of RDMA stages and stuff, quite a detailed presentation, and will be useful for us, for me personally, and I hope for the attendees as well and participants. So do you have any questions to Gulfiya Kuchumova, to our presenter? I think there is one question in chat. How reliable is to use Google Forms in data collection? Is it reliable to use Google Forms in data collection? So there is one question from Ajar.
So
thank you for your question.
So the question is about the means how to collect data. So I think why not? Here you should think about where you will store this data. So there's, if you have any like personal password protected clouds, I think that's okay. But just don't forget about backing up your data set.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Ajar said thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay, if we don't have any questions, yeah, could you send the recording, please? Yes, we will share this recording, the recording of this webinar, yeah, and post it, email you, yeah. So thank you so much, Gulfiya, once again. And let me give the floor to the next speaker. And the next speaker is Artem Zadorozhny from the Education University of Hong Kong. And he's going to present his presentation on generative artificial intelligence. The floor is yours, Artem. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting. Can you see my slides? Can you hear me well? Just to double check. Okay, perfect. All right, let me just close a couple of applications here. All right, hello everyone. So my name is Artem Zadorozhny, or just Archie. I'm greeting you from Hong Kong. It's almost 6 o'clock here, so we are 3 hours ahead of you. So today I'm going to talk about generative AI. It's quite a hot topic, especially if we consider the last couple of years. If you try to Google or try to use Google Scholar to see publications, there are more and more publications every day. And I would like to focus today on the ethical application of AI tools. So I will just briefly share some ideas about the skills, advantages of AI, and hopefully I could also raise your awareness and enhance, try to make you think about the ethical application of such tools. So to start with, as I said, currently I'm a postdoctoral fellow at Education University of Hong Kong. That's where I completed my PhD degree, and before that I graduated from Nazarbayev University. And originally I'm from Kazakhstan, so that's where I completed my bachelor degree. So my research experience broadly connected to the topics of applied linguistics. I was always interested in computer-assisted language learning, so in how we can use mobile tools or computers or any digital tools to help with learning and teaching English. So that led me to two main areas of my studies. The first is informal learning. And informal learning stands for extracurricular activities, or what you do in out-of-class spaces. For example, playing online games and communicating in English is considered to be informal learning. And throughout the last 5 years, that was one of the main areas of my research. I published quite a few papers and book chapters. All of them were about pre-service English language teachers from Kazakhstan. So I will share my slides with you. If you are interested, you can take a look at these publications. But the topic of today's presentation is connected to the second field of my research interest, which is digital and AI literacy. That's the main topic of my postdoctoral fellowship project. And especially because, well, AI became quite an interesting tool to research recently. So as I'm in applied linguistics, I like to position the impact of tools from the stance of applied linguistics. So just if we talk about the innovations, which ChatGPT is, we can see that there are many interesting events during the last 100 years. So in 1920s, we didn't really have internet. So the use of audio recordings and radio broadcasts was considered quite innovative for language teaching and learning. And after that, we had many other steps before the introduction of internet. But the development of computer-assisted language learning started from 90s and further when we had the development of gadgets. So, well, now we all use our gadgets every day. And introduction of AR, augmented reality or virtual reality tools in 2010s, it was also quite a hallmark. But you all know what happened after. So in November 2022, as far as I remember, there was an introduction of ChatGPT. Actually, ChatGPT was introduced a lot earlier, but it grabbed attention of the audience because of how advanced it is right now after OpenAI introduced the first ChatGPT 3. So that was quite an interesting event. So if we talk about AI in general, we can talk about the notion of chatbots. And I'm pretty sure you have heard about chatbots before. And I like to use memes sometimes because it captures attention. So there are two main types of chatbots. The first kind is called retrieval-based chatbots. So these chatbots were with us a long time before ChatGPT, and they work by picking responses from a pre-made collection of conversations. So let's say you have a book and you feed it to the system. And then if you ask a particular question, the system gives you a response based on the collection of resources it already has. So the first retrieval-based chatbot was Eliza in 1970s. And it was quite good for its time. But the development of innovations and AI-powered tools actually made us progress a little bit further. And now we have AI-enabled or AI-powered tools which use machine learning. So these chatbots create their own responses on the fly, making the conversation more flexible and adaptable. So the usage of AI has been discussed in many papers. I just would like to introduce a couple of ideas to remind you of some of the possible advantages or usages of generative AI. So these screenshots are from the article that I recently published in January with my colleague. So generative AI can simplify content and support language learning. So let's say you can ask ChatGPT or any other platform. So I'm referring to ChatGPT as one of the most common AI tools, but of course there are others such as Gemini, Bard, and Claude, and many others. So you can ask ChatGPT to revise the following extract from the news and make it kind of interesting or understandable for someone of 9 or 10 years old. So ChatGPT can do that. ChatGPT can help in language learning processes because it can be a role-playing agent. So in this screenshot, you can see that we asked ChatGPT to be a salesperson when you're a customer. So if you set a particular prompt to ChatGPT, it actually can lead a discussion and dialogue between you, and you can lead the discussion actually, but it's quite an interesting way to practice your English skills. Game companion, so ChatGPT can help you to practice English again, but also what is more important for future teachers and for me personally, that generative AI could be quite good when it comes to generation of ideas for activities or help create and teaching materials in a wide range of cultures, topics such as vocabulary lists, grammar exercises. So on this screenshot, we asked to generate a lesson plan for someone of age of 10 and 11 for the guessing game for pre-intermediate English language learners. So if you're interested to know more about the possibility of using AI for written communication, you can scan this QR code later and take a look at the open access article that discusses some of these ideas. But let me go further. So when we work with AI tools, we need to have some skills. Otherwise, we will not be able to use these tools. And my question to you can just type it in the chat. What skills are important when using AI-enabled tools? What do you think? Just type your responses to chat. I will read them out loud. Digital literacy. All right, that's very good. What else? Critical thinking. All right. Anyone else? To explain clearly. All right. Yes, because, well, if we don't ask what we need, we don't get what we need, right? Anyone else? Decolonial mindset, most data is white. Okay, I will go, I will discuss this a little bit further, but thank you for your thoughts. Well, in general, you're right. I guess it was Didar who shared his opinion. There's someone else. Describe some background. Yeah. So Didar was right. We actually need to have literacy. But what kind of literacy? That's exactly a question. So when it comes to the notion of literacy, usually we talk about traditional literacy, which is basically your skills to read and write. So you need to understand the message and you need to transmit the message. But with the development of technologies, we started to have a new set of skills which we need to have, which is called digital literacy skills, or sometimes they're called digital literacies because there are technical, audiovisual, behavioral, social skills. So there are multiple sets of the skills which we need to possess. And when I talk about digital literacy skills. So for example, in my case, it was the switch from PowerPoint presentations to Canva presentations, just because they gave me more flexibility of the design. And that's just one of the examples when it comes to digital literacy. But when we talk about AI, we need to look at the concept, which is a little bit broader. So we have the concept of literacy, which stands for reading and writing skills. And we also have digital literacy, which encompasses many tools and how we actually work with different tools. But when we work with AI literacy, there is a term AI literacy, which basically talks about the point of how we request information from AI and how we analyze it. Of course, there is also, in this particular scheme, there is a prompt literacy because it was the main point of this paper of Juan in 2023. But I like to focus on AI literacy concept. And when we look at AI literacy in general, there are many concepts and many dimensions, many layers that we need to be aware of. Of course, with the development of AI, there are more and more frameworks or more and more guides to tell us what we need to learn and how we need to learn and so on. But I particularly like this one because it encompasses all the main areas of our knowledge. And I like to present it as a circle. So it was adapted from the study of Wong. And it starts from the awareness, our ability to recognize and comprehend the presence of workings of AI and how AI actually works. So we just need to know the platforms. The second step is usage, our skills to employ and leverage AI technology, because we need to understand what AI is capable and what AI is not capable of doing. After that, when we already set the prompt, usually we receive a particular set of information or output from AI, and we need to have another skill, which is evaluation. So evaluation here is the ability to critically assess and select AI tools for different purposes, and different versions of AI would work differently. Let's say if we compare ChatGPT 3 with ChatGPT 4.5, it's a completely different picture. And the same works when we need to provide details for different platforms. But one of the most important elements, which is more and more underlined, because AI tools differ from all the other digital tools because of how the data has been accessed. So we have the concept of ethics. So ethics here involves being mindful of the accountability issues and potential risks that come with AI technology. And it requires users to make sure that AI is used in an appropriate, meaningful way. Why do ethics matter? Why do we underline ethics so much when we talk about AI, and we underline it less when we talk about other tools? So it comes from the essence, the foundation of AI. So AI systems potential biases and fairness concerns. So AI systems can unintentionally promote biases in society from the data used to train them. This could lead to, let's say, unfair treatment of certain student groups based on factors like gender, economic background, race. And these biases could occur when there is a noticeable difference in how often different groups are represented, for example. So take a look at the screenshot from the study of 2024. So figure 2 shows that the study found that all free AI image generators, which are Mindjourney, Stable Diffusion, and DALL-E, they produce biases against women. For example, only 23% of images from Midjourney, 35 and 42 from Stable Diffusion and DALL-E featured women, which is much less compared to men when they ask to generate portraits. We also have privacy risks, privacy and data protection issues. AI systems need a lot of personal data to work well, and we still don't know what data and how AI accesses it. So this raises privacy worries about how sensitive information is collected, stored, and used. There is also, of course, the lack of transparency and accountability. So many AI systems work like black boxes, we call them, making it hard to understand how they make decisions and recommendations. And well, AI can also hallucinate and provide responses which are far from being real or useful. So in education, therefore, it's crucial that AI-driven decisions can be explained and reviewed by humans. We also can talk about increased inequalities. So there are concerns that using AI in education could make inequalities worse if access to these technologies is uneven across different economic groups. And finally, the impact on human roles, which comes to the point of increasing use of AI raises questions about preserving human agency and the role of teachers in developing student skills. So let's look at this example, for example, of what AI is not exactly capable of doing. So yesterday, I asked ChatGPT to generate me a list of papers which talked about informal digital learning of English, again, informal learning. And I specifically asked to generate the list of references from European countries. And I have had my list of references with 6 references. The only problem is only one reference there was real. So the authors, which the surnames of which we can see the years are real, but the names are not. Or sometimes vice versa. We have the authors, but the year is not there. Or for example, the study which particularly captured my attention was number 4, Toffoli and Socket, University Teacher Perception of Informal Digital Learning of English. That was the name of the study, but it was never conducted in Italy. It was conducted in France. So this is just one of the examples of how AI could hallucinate and provide unreliable responses. We can also talk about fake news and AI-generated content. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there are particular websites right now that look very real. There is only one small problem. They only generate fake news. So I really like to show these platforms to my students and give them some tasks to think about, especially when we have the platform which is called Babylon Bee. And the motto of the platform is fake news you can trust. We can also have many issues when it comes to generated music, which was never generated. Let's say the Freddie Mercury's cover on Adele. So which raises many issues, but there are a couple of things that we need to talk about when we talk about the content of AI in general. And here, when we arrive to the final point, it's ethical principles, which we need to follow when using AI. So these principles were applied to conducting research. That's why it's applicable to your research skill set, but also to the skills that you need to have when you use different AI tools in general. So the first one is fairness. So fairness means that there is no unfair bias in how an AI system works. So to be fair, AI tools should not lead to any discriminatory or unfair outcomes against any group. And for us, as we work with AI, it comes to the point that we need to critically analyze data used by AI for biases. So we need to cross-check information. We need to double-check the sources. So when using AI, we need to include a variety of perspectives and backgrounds. And if we ask for different sources, we need to double-check them, just because we cannot trust everything that is given to us. The second is accountability. So accountability means the designers and developers of AI systems are responsible for the consequences of the impact of AI. So in educational context, this means that teams creating AI technologies for education are accountable for how those AI systems work. But for us, we need to know how the AI tools you use impact your writing and the information you generate, because the prompts that we generate can actually skew the responses of AI, and the output could not be as reliable as we want. And finally, there are two more principles which underlined in research. The transparency, which means understanding how an AI tool makes decisions and the reasoning behind those decisions. And for us, it means understanding and questioning how suggestions are generated and what actually influences them. And we need always to remember that there is a need to state that there was a usage of AI in our works. And it's not only connected to assignments. Now it's a requirement in many journals, many academic journals, when before publishing, you actually need to provide information whether AI has been used. And the final concept is ethics, which has several meanings, with the most relevant ones signifying a set of moral values or principles of conduct, consciousness of moral values. And here, I just would like to underline that one of the most important points is the use AI responsibly and ensuring that it doesn't plagiarize, misrepresent facts, and harm others. Because, and this, of course, requires double check on information provided to us, and consider the broader consequences of using AI on your audience and society. So let's say, I like to provide this example usually. If you go to Google Scholar, the first thing that is written as a motto of the website is standing on the shoulders of giants, which basically means we use information published by others to generate new knowledge and to support, to use it as a foundation. So in this way, generation of content, which is not exactly reliable, could harm not only us, our perspectives, career, and so on, but others and general audience. Here are the references which I used for some of my thoughts today. And if you would like to stay in touch, there is my email and Twitter, or X, it's called right now. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to ask. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Artyom. It was very interesting, presentation. And
Thank you.
One of the, let's say, hot topics discussed at many conferences nowadays about AI and the role of AI in teaching, and whether AI can replace high quality teaching or not. People talk about possibilities like different approaches AI can take to support learning in terms of mentoring, tutoring, coaching, being a student and a tool and teammate, and now many universities also discuss the topic of the academic integrity policies, and they even the Graduate School of Education now has developed a policy on the use of generative AI, so that AI is not a replacement for our own thinking and original thoughts, but we need to let our supervisors as well as faculty members aware of how did we use a particular AI tool like ChatGPT and where, so there are some specific opportunities within the use of generative AI tools such as ChatGPT, and it was very interesting to see the presentation in general, in particular the ethical principles to follow when using AI, so critically analyze data, as you said, by AI for biases, and knowing how the AI tools we use impact our writing and the information it generates, so there is I can see questions in chat, so what is a question from Mirwert? What is the potential impact of using any AI tools like Good Tape for transcribing while conducting research on privacy rights and data security? And
That's a very big question, and there are many discussions right now when it comes to privacy rights and data security in general, especially when it comes to analyzing data for research. So I would say that there are definitely trustworthy applications which we should take a look at, but for me personally, I try to stay away from the platforms when I need to analyze my data. So for example, if I happen to need the transcription services, let's say. So I only choose the platforms which were there for quite a long time. And before uploading any recording, I make sure that there is no name of a person. There is no identification of the audio of who speaks, how the person refers to particular concepts, and only particular pieces I could transcribe using my on computer, but I never upload any files to any cloud services. So I only do that if I have the application installed on my computer with internet off. So only in this case, I would consider them. But for data security, well, again, it always comes to the point of anonymizing the personalities of your research participants. So in this case, I would always try to delete any information, and in general, I keep it only on my work computer, the identifying information. And apart from that, I only use anonymous names or some nicknames which I generate. So yeah, there is a second question as well. As I understood, we need to check the information given by AI in order to understand if it's reliable or not. Yes, always. So do we need to search the information by ourselves, or there are some apps to double check it? Well, unfortunately, it comes down to our skills and our critical thinking abilities. I have a task which sometimes I give to students when they are asked to understand whether this is a fake news or not. It's quite an interesting task because mostly students try to rely on AI, and AI has data only until November 2021. And all the articles which students are asked to assess, they are published in 2023. So the question is whether we can actually rely on AI. I don't think so. So it all comes down to our skills and to our critical thinking skills. So just unfortunately, we are still humans who need to double check information generated by computers. Hope it helps.
Thank you, Artyom. There is one more question from Irtijan. She has just raised her hand.
First, I want to express my gratitude. It's very interesting. And the question is, there is a fine line between those students, people who use AI as a tool, and those others who overdo AI resources. So the question is, today and tomorrow, how can we evaluate truly original works from the cool works of AI or ChatGPT? Yeah? And because privacy and security in these systems are developing more and better.
It's a big question. And that's for me personally, because the question that you raise has been discussed for the last 2 years in research community, because there are so many cases when people claim that, well, we have tools which could identify AI content. Yes and no. Yes, because it is possible if the person, let's say, copies 2 pages of AI-generated content and puts it to the platform. Yes, platform is able to do that because there are patterns. So technically, AI is a statistical program that takes the text and puts it in different places. So there are many mechanisms and algorithms there. But another important point is that all tools which try to understand whether it's trustworthy content or not, they're skewed towards second language speakers, which means that we are a second language learners, second language speakers. We have patterns of speech which could be recognized as AI generated. So there was a study, I think it was published either in Cambridge or Oxford, that talks about the untrustworthiness of AI detecting platforms just because there is this issue. So I think, to me personally, it all comes down to the point that we need to be ethical in how we use AI, because more and more platforms progress, more and more difficult it will be to analyze whether it's actually fake content, reliable content or not. So replying to your question, I think that it is getting harder and harder to identify, and it will be almost extremely impossible to identify whether it's AI or not. That's why we need to be aware of issues, and that's why these points should be raised more and more often.
Okay, thank you for your response, and thank you for your questions, dear participants. Yeah, so if we don't have any questions, yeah, Let's move on, and I would like to give the floor to Dinara Muhamedjanova from Maksut Narikbayev University. She's also has got her PhD in education from the Graduate School of Education at Nazarbayev University, and she's going to present her presentation on publishing with integrity and avoiding plagiarism. Dinara, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. Please let me know so that I can proceed.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we hear you well.
Okay. Thank you so much. I will switch off my camera for the presentation time, and then if you have questions, we can again communicate like that. Okay, so today I will talk about publishing with integrity and avoiding plagiarism. In general, we will cover how to prepare your manuscripts, your research manuscripts, your research papers for publication in international peer-reviewed journals. Whatever I touch upon today is applicable. In fact, it should be applicable also to publications in national core journals here in Kazakhstan as well. So our agenda for today, we will talk a little bit about importance of academic integrity and avoiding plagiarism. We will focus a lot more on understanding copyright and fair use, authorship, artificial intelligence in publishing your work, your research, conflicts of interest, potential conflicts of interest, and we will end this presentation with discussing publication ethics checklist. So when we talk about academic integrity, and my colleague from Maksut Narikbayev University, Gulfiya Kuchumova, also mentioned that academic integrity is important because it is the responsibility of researchers and academics, educators to engage in honest academic practices that is building trust within the community this is something, of course, that we should all kind of pursue and aspire to achieve. These are all important goals. But when you are publishing your work, you should also remember that you are leaving a footprint in the academic community. You are publishing, you are putting your work and yourself out there for reading, for criticism, potentially, like you are leaving the footprint on the internet outside of your safe zone. So the work will be accessible to millions of people and maybe thousands of professionals in your sphere. So when you are using dishonest practices, when you are engaging in academic misconduct, let me not use the word you, right? If one, let's say, is engaged in academic misconduct, it might be revealed, and it might be revealed in the worst way possible, jeopardizing your careers, your reputation in the academic community, and so on. So I think we should talk a lot more today about consequences of academic misconduct that might be revealed after 10 years or in 10 years, in 15 years time. And if you started publishing something at the level of master's degree, using maybe sometimes unknowingly some academically dishonest ways, then it might be revealed when you are already a professor in Princeton, or when you are a vice minister of education, so in some countries. So these kind of issues that we need to avoid, and how to do it. So avoiding academic misconduct, avoiding plagiarism, is actually starts from educating yourself about what is plagiarism, what is proper citation. These are things that are repeated by professors, I think, in Kazakhstan over and over again. However, surprisingly, a lot of students and a lot of emerging researchers still, for example, do not differentiate the difference between paraphrasing and summarizing the works with proper citation, and then paraphrasing and summarizing the work just without any kind of citation. The use of direct quotes and citation styles, and how they say using of the citation styles actually can impact how your work is assessed, whether it would be considered plagiarism or not. Acknowledging contributions, not only about theories, concepts, and ideas, but also non-textual sources such as images, illustrations, figures, and so on, contributions of your colleagues and mentors. We will talk about the authorship in a minute, but when we talk about contributions of your professors, for example, of your mentors and your colleagues, it should be also acknowledged. How to do that in publication we will cover in a minute. And most importantly, in my own experience, you should familiarize yourself with the copyright laws, fair practice doctrine, obtaining permissions, and what kind of conflicts of interest might occur when you are preparing your manuscript for publication. When it comes to the first 2 points, educating yourself and acknowledging contributions, I'm sure you can find very easily the information on the internet, just as was mentioned by my colleagues, just use trustworthy sources. But when it comes to the copyright laws and obtaining permissions and conflicts of interest, and especially about the fair use, you have to always rely on the journal websites, on those journal websites where you want to publish your paper, because my experience says that this kind of guidelines and let's say requirements might differ between different publication houses. Any publication house, they usually have the author services and different guidelines, so use those. And if you have a question that you cannot solve by yourself, you did your research, but you didn't find the answer to your question, whether, for example, an image is under the copyright and whether you can use it without the permission of the copyright holder, you should consult with a production editor or publishing coordinator, which I did myself recently when I was preparing my latest manuscript for publication. I'm not talking about chief editor or, of course, reviewers, but there are specialists who are responsible for production process and publishing your paper. So consulting with them would be a good way to resolve your kind of questions and make sure that you are doing everything in an academically honest way. So now let's talk about understanding copyright and fair use. So what is copyright? The definition is quite simple. It is a legal protection of the author's original work. And what is included in the protection, it is the right to reproduce, to distribute the material, to use it for public performance, public display, and to use it in order to adapt and create something new based on this material. So basically, any third-party materials that encompasses the categories of literary works, such as novels, short stories, essays, articles, artistic work, dramatic works, musical works, audiovisual content, digital content, computer programs, software code, databases, all of these things, they are protected by copyright. So even if a person did not apply to the copyright protection, the international law says that anything that has that is considered original work and has a tangible form is under the copyright protection. So this is there are certain issues, like certain requirements that are applied differently in different countries. If you want to know more about Kazakhstan, you can read our law об авторском праве и смежных правах. It is dated 1996, but it was updated in 2023 to include all the new developments around the world. So, and if you want to read a little bit more about copyright in an understandable language, clear language, you can read this Forbes article about copyright. But well, to sum up, so basically you cannot, like copyright says that you cannot use the work of the third party And even if you are authored this work, like for instance, many journals, when just before the publication of your paper, they will ask you to sign an agreement. And in this agreement, the copyright rights will be divided. For example, reproducing and distribution would belong as a right of the publishing agency, publisher, and then using this research materials for public performance or limited public display or adapting it would belong to the author. So what is important here is that you should read, of course, the agreement very, very carefully, but also you should consult with the journal about this kind of differences in the requirements for the copyright holders. So basically, you cannot use lengthy material that belongs to the third party, even if it was published by you, in reproducing, distributing, and any other means. However, there is a doctrine called fair use, which actually allows limited use of this copyright material without seeking permission. So I'm sorry, I need to highlight here that you cannot use the material belonging to the third party without written permission for the copyright holders. And sometimes you have to ask copyright holders and authors. As I explained, copyright holder, not always the author, right? So depending on the agreement that you signed before the publication of your work. So, but there are cases when it is possible to do without permission. And two things are considered here. It is the nature of the original work and the nature of the secondary use. So if the work, like a short abstract or a figure or illustration that you're using that belongs to the third party that is under copyright, but it is a published factual work, more likely it would be under the fair use and you can use it without permission. However, if it is an unpublished work, it is creative work. In this case, you have to ask for the written permission of the author. If you're using it for non-profit, like you're not making money out of it, right? For educational purpose, such as research or study, criticism or review, for example, of a book, it is parody, satire, reporting news, or maybe you are using this material to kind of develop your professional advice in, for example, in law. Still, you can use, this fair use doctrine is applied. You can use this information without permission. But let me highlight one more time. You have to check depending on the journal, and you have this information that you're using. It is like it should be a short abstract. You can use the whole. You can't use the whole information without the permission. So you need to seek permission. To learn a bit more about fair use in academia, in research, I would advise you to go to these two links that I'm sharing, which is, first one is Penn State University, and the second one, Stanford University's guidelines about fair use in academia. So, and I have a question here for you. So, if you can, looking at these 4 pictures and they're numbered, as you can see, can you type the number of the pictures that are used under the doctrine of fair use, and which ones are under copyright? Please just type it in the chat if you can. Should I repeat the question? So please type the numbers of a picture that is under fair use and the pictures that are under copyright with permission. Alina, you have to indicate what you mean here, because yeah, the question is double.
Maybe Alina, you can unmute yourself, yeah? And explain why and what did you mean by number 4, yeah? Alina? Or you can write in chat, yeah?
Okay, in this case, let me explain. The first picture is clearly fair use. We are not, as you can see, the author did not seek any permission to use it. It is fair use. It was the explanation of the theory of self-efficacy by Bandura, which was based on Bandura's own work as adopted by Betts in 1992. So this goes under the label of fair use. And it was used in an article, a research paper, right? And the second and the third pictures, they were used in a book which was published for profit, right? So that was kind of, it is not, although it is an educational case, but it was for profit, it's not non-profit. And as we can see, this the same kind of idea, like explaining conceptually some models and so on. We can see that the number 2 was reproduced with permission from Pavlenka. So here the copyright said, maybe it was the requirement of the journal that only the permission of the author is necessary. So the authors asked the permission of Pavlenka. In the third one, we can see that it was with the permission of both author and publisher. So sometimes copyright requires the written permission of both. In this case, it means that author and publisher, they share the copyright, the rights for the usage and distribution and so on. And the last one is actually an original work of a person published for the first time. Of course, since it is an original work of an author, it does not require any kind of permissions or any kind of citation. So it is an original work. So if you are interested, here is the links, references of these 4 pictures. Okay, so the next thing that I would like to talk about is authorship, and in Kazakhstan, in recent years, maybe it's becoming better, but it is still a problem of uncredited authorship in publishing an article. So when you are publishing an article, make sure that all the co-authors, they made a significant contribution to the work, that they either written or substantially revised the article, provided some certain criticism, that they agreed on the requirements of the journal on this copyright division of the copyrights, that they reviewed, agreed on all versions of the article, not only the first draft. And most of all, that they agreed to take responsibility and be accountable for the content of the article. And it is like a double-sworded issue. So, for example, let's say that you are publishing with colleagues and you are a corresponding author, right? You are the author who is communicating with an editor. So, if you are a corresponding author, make sure that your co-authors, they know what kind of changes were included in the last draft of your paper. If, on the other hand, you are a co-author and then corresponding author is someone else, you have to inquire about the last draft of the paper, because you share the responsibility, you are accountable for the content of the article. Recently, I had this kind of case when one of my co-authors used an illustration that was not the original illustration, and it was not properly cited, and it was not properly kind of analyzed, right, how to use it. So you have to be very mindful about, because as I said, it is your reputation, and since you are a co-author, you share the responsibility for that. Also, disclosure about the assistance from scientific, medical, technical writers and translators, especially in Kazakhstan. It's very important because not all the people are able to write in academically perfect English, so they employ the help from translators, for example. When publishing internationally, you have to acknowledge the help of these technical writers and translators and data analysts as well. They their contributions must be acknowledged, and the source of funding that you used in order to hire these people must be declared. And you do it two ways. You either list them in acknowledgements section with an explanation of their role, or you list them as co-authors. In what cases you list them as co-authors? If they contributed more than just translating and analyzing the data. If they, for example, translated and analyzed the data and, for example, draw some conclusion and implications and helped you to interpret your findings, in this case, you should list them as co-authors. In other cases, it's okay just to declare their role in your paper publishing in acknowledgements. Also, my colleagues today talked a lot about artificial intelligence, and there is nothing that I can add to that very thorough discussion. However, when we talk about publishing, you should be aware that different publication houses, they have, as I said, different requirements in terms of artificial intelligence usage as well. For example, one of the most reputable and trustworthy publishers, Taylor and Francis, you can see the screenshot from their website. They have the statement that they do not encourage the usage of chatbots, for example, ChatGPT, in preparing the manuscript, and they say it's not in line with our authorship criteria, right? So basically, it is frowned upon. If you want to publish in Taylor and Francis, you should be aware of that, right? Because oftentimes what we do, authors, we write a paper and then we think in what kind of journal we are going to publish them, right? So if you wrote your paper and you used, and as I said, if you use, as it was said previously, if it was used fairly, right? You can use ChatGPT, for example. You should be aware that some publication houses, they prohibit, that is not encouraged even any kind of use of artificial intelligence. And on the other hand, for example, Sage, again, a very prominent publisher, they have a little bit different stance on this position, on this artificial intelligence usage. For example, they are okay with that as long as you clearly indicate the use of the artificial intelligence, that you that you're transparent about how you used it, and you cite everything as necessary. So in publication, like artificial intelligence, it's a great help, it's a great tool in academic writing as well, but even if when you use it fairly, you should be aware that some of the publication houses are not on the same page and the requirements might differ. And you should be aware of that in order not to have problems, not to waste time, because this kind of things, they might be reviewed after like you already underwent the whole like a reviewing process, and you are wasting your time, energy, and so on, and the journal's time and energy as well. And let me quickly check time, says I get them. Okay, so a little bit about conflicts of interests. This is something that you should report as well. In what kind of cases conflicts of interest might occur? If you are working under grant, if you're receiving some kind of royalties, or you have fees, right? Basically, if there are some material words involved, or for example, if you are collaborating with some groups that might advocate a certain type of result, so you should declare that as well. So the publication house will define whether it is appropriate or not. And this is the publication ethics checklist. So I didn't share with you this presentation, in order not to take a lot of time. I will end with this. Please check this publication ethics checklist. These are all the things that I already mentioned in this presentation. And here are my contacts. If you have a question as an emerging scholar, I will be happy to help you with your questions and direct you as to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dinara. Unfortunately, we ran out of time here, but it was such an interesting presentation on understanding copyright and fair use, on also on many other things, like, for example, how to avoid plagiarism, one of the key things that we need to learn, educate ourselves, what is plagiarism, what is proper citation, how to paraphrase and summarize works, how to acknowledge contributions, theories, concepts, and also sources, about journal websites, as you said, author services, and so on and so forth. Thank you so much. And I would like to ask the audience, do you have any questions, dear participants? If you have any questions to Dinara, please feel free to ask these questions. You can put your questions in chat, or you can also address the questions to Dinara if you unmute yourself. If we do not have any questions, so then I would like to give the floor to our next speaker. His name is Yasir, and he's a PhD student from Nazarbayev University, and he's going to present his presentation on culture of integrity, ethics. Yasir, the floor is yours. Thank you for coming and joining us.
Thank you so much, Igrim, and I hope I'm audible and everybody can hear me. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see the screen and your slides, and
okay.
We can hear you.
I'll just work out with this toolbar. So I'm very glad to be here, and the presenters who presented before me, I thoroughly enjoyed their presentations, and it was interesting to see how what they talked about converged on and coincided with what I'm going to talk about. But it's just like what I'm going to talk about is going to be a bit old school, that would involve you and your thinking and your decisions that you take as a researcher. So as you can see on the screen, I'm going to be talking about the culture of integrity, which includes a myriad of topics, and it's a very broad area because it's an ever-growing and ever-dynamic area, because with new context comes new challenges. So today, however, I would be focusing on the aspects of how to establish and add to the honesty and transparency in qualitative research. So, not to give a long prelude today, but I think it's important to start our discussion from the good old discussions on what is ontology and what is epistemology, because as researchers, we come with paradigms, because how we believe the nature of reality is and how we believe the nature of knowledge is, it really defines and demarcates our paradigm, and somehow gives a glimpse into what we considered what qualifies among for us as knowledge. And based on our ontology and based on epistemology, we are qualified as positivists, post-positivists, and which are common terms for quant researchers. And if you are an interpretivist or a critical scholar, or you believe that there is no single reality, a post-scholar, you are a qualitative researcher. So since quantitative research was a more established tradition of research, and it existed before qualitative tradition of research, they had this established traditions of adding to the honesty, to the transparency, and to the strength of their studies. So whenever you come across a quantitative study, you would see the people talking about what is internal validity, what is external validity, what is reliability, and what is objectivity. And in simple terms, internal validity concerns itself with the question that the study that is being carried out, the tests that have been undertaken, do they measure what it is supposed to measure? If the answer is yes, so your study consists of, like, it has that internal validity. And when it comes to external validity, it's all about, can the findings of the study be applied and generalized to other situations? And we know that when it comes to quantitative studies, the results are to a good extent generalizable. And so if the results can be generalized to other contexts, to wider populations, then the study is supposed to have external validity. Coming to reliability, it asks a simple question that if the study is repeated again, would it yield and produce similar results? So if it produces the same results in case of repetition, it means the study or the instruments involved in that study are reliable. And then it brings us to objectivity. How objective are the findings? And this is, again, that's why I talked about ontology and epistemology, that as a positivist or as a post-positivist researcher, you believe that the reality is objective out there. So with the emergence of the qualitative research, and of course it was critiqued due to its methods, due to its approach and its ontology and epistemology as a qualitative research, you cannot believe in an objective reality, and you believe that, okay, reality is constructed and can be influenced. So that really sheds a different light on your belief on how knowledge exists out there. So when qualitative research emerged as a tradition of research, it was of course critiqued, and people expected the same things, the same standards as they were expecting of the quantitative research. And a lot of pioneers of qualitative research, they worked and strived to come up and meet the expectations and come up with the standards that would add to the credibility, that would add to the honesty and transparency of the research. But of course, like now, a lot of qualitative researchers are convinced that since these two research approaches are very different in their ontology and epistemology, the way they look at the world, the way they carry out studies, it's useless and pointless to use the same standards to judge a qualitative study. However, a lot of researchers have tried to come up with things in order to add to the honesty and transparency in qualitative research or in qual research. So the first thing that is in response to the internal validity. So qualitative researchers in most cases strive to add to the credibility of the study. So if you want to establish the credibility of your qualitative study, you need to ask a question like, to what extent do the findings reflect reality? And if the answer is yes, okay, so you have established the credibility of your qualitative research. And of course, like, it's not just asking a question and answering it yourself. It involves different methods and different measures and strategies that you can execute to establish and add to the credibility. So I've written some examples of it, that some qualitative researchers believe that, okay, if you recruit participants through random sampling, you in a way add to the credibility. Others talk about triangulation, that if you use one method if you use one instrument in qualitative research, such as interview, so observation can add to the triangulation, and through observations you can find out whether you get the same results or not. And then iterative questioning, peer scrutiny, member checks, all of these strategies are used by and talked about researchers. That adds to the credibility of any qualitative study. And then, since in quantitative studies, people talk about how results can be generalized, and the same thing was expected of qualitative studies. Now, I mean, of course, the goal of any qualitative research is not to generalize the results, but still people say that, okay, if the contexts are similar, and for example, if I conduct a study in Astana, and given the similarity between the two contexts, so to what extent can the findings be considered relevant in the unexplored context? So the question of to what extent the findings of a study that was conducted in Astana could be applied in the context of, let's say, Almaty. So such kind of claims add to the transferability of the study. But again, like now in this age, I think nobody talks about transferability, because people like qualitative research do not aspire to be generalizable or come up with results that are generalizable. But in the past, there are ways they talk about the ways that can add to the transferability of the study. That is that when you conduct a study, you record sufficient contextual information. That is like you note everything, you talk about everything, so that when a person who is trying to use those results and generalize them in another context, they would have sufficient details to compare them with. And then they talk about how to use results from a sending context and applying them in the receiving context. That is like taking findings of a study conducted in Astana and then applying in the context of Almaty. And then comes dependability, that will another researcher taking the same steps achieve the same results. And this is something that qualitative researchers really take care of, is that they want to leave a trail of choices, of decisions, so that other people can also take the same tests. And I mean, of course, the goal is not to achieve the same results, because we know that things are dynamic, things are changing. And in this socially political and this economically unstable world, things cannot remain the same. But we can achieve a great deal of dependability when we talk about, when you describe our research design, and when we enumerate the steps taken and the decisions taken, and we add to, like, we provide details of the data collection, we reflect on the weaknesses and strengths of the study. So these things, by doing all these things, we add to the dependability of the study. And then comes the fourth tenet, that is confirmability, how unbiased. I mean, as a qualitative researcher, we now know that, you know, like, if you call yourself an unbiased researcher, it's hard to believe you. So we do come to the studies with certain biases, but then again, mindful of that we come with biases, we try to take measures, we try to take steps in order to mitigate the effects of those biases on our studies. So we try our best to let the data speak. We try our best to not to influence and to trample the voice of our participants. And this is usually done by through two ways in qualitative research. One is by disclosing yourself and your dispositions. So that is to show who you are, talk about yourself, and talk about all those things that can possibly influence the results of the study. So this brings us to two of my favorite strategies and measures that I think adds to the credibility to a good extent, and dependability, and also like confirmability of the study. Though I do not aspire to use these words, but I'm more into words such as trustworthiness, transparency, honesty, and rigor. Like, these are the words that should define the aspects of honesty and transparency in qualitative studies. So rigor, which talks about, like, whenever a qualitative study is a good study, we say that, is it rigorous? So if it's rigorous, it means it's trustworthy, it's transparent, and it's honest. So what does this rigor means? It simply means that in the description of your studies, you are super thorough and super meticulous. This simply involves talking about all that was part of your study, all the steps that you've taken, all the decisions that you've made. When you talk about them, when you mention them, you are being thorough, you're being meticulous. And this brings us to the idea of audit trail. So it is interesting. Like, I mean, all of us have thought about how easy it is to describe a quantitative study. So you talk about hypotheses, you have a dependent, like, just to simplify them, I'm not a quantitative researcher. So like, you have a dependent variable, you have an independent variable, and then you have a certain list of tests that you perform, and then you get the results, and then you describe those results. So it's pretty straightforward. But in qualitative research, it's you that does all these things, that it takes the decisions. So in that case, there is no test that can be checked or verified. So it is important, whatever thinking goes into your study, whatever decisions that are part of your study that influenced and shaped the nature of your study, they ought to be recorded. And this is what audit trail is. So as you can see, there's a definition by Decline and Lehman that an audit procedure offers the auditee a comprehensive methodology to leave a trail of choices and decisions made, which can subsequently be checked by a second party. So if I've conducted a qualitative study, I leave behind an audit trail for other researchers to see the decisions, the steps that I've taken. So I had questions, and then I came up with answers. So audit trail would let other researchers know how I went from my questions and how I answered those questions. So it somehow establishes the connections between the questions and the results and the findings. So when you leave an audit trail, it does two things. First, like I just mentioned, that you leave behind a trail of all the decisions taken. So anybody who wants to verify your findings. Anybody who wants to conduct the same study in a different context, or maybe in a similar context, they would have a list of all the decisions that you have taken. And secondly, an audit trail allows other researchers to verify and falsify your methodology, your findings. So for example, I conduct a study in Astana and I come up with a result, and there is a researcher that disagrees with my findings, and then the researcher would conduct the same study. So given the audit trail, that researcher would be able to take the same steps, and then that would give them a chance to verify and falsify. And I mean, at the same time, even if the findings are rejected, or if the researcher comes to the same conclusions, it doesn't matter. But the idea is to leave behind a trail of choices so that other people can just follow in those steps and conduct the same study in the same context. And just like I talked about, it's very important because it is the questions in qualitative research, then there is you, and then there are findings. So all those things that take place between the questions and the findings, like all the thinking, all the thematic analysis, and all the strategies that we like execute in order to reach to a certain conclusion, we need to talk about those things. And that is the audit trail. And this brings us to one of the most important things, that is the researcher's positionality. And earlier, if you remember, we talked about the biases, and like we always ask this question, like, and people also ask this question, that how biased were you? Like, what were your biases that you brought to the study? And as human beings, and like earlier, Archie talked about how ChatGPT can be biased, it has certain inbuilt biases. So if a machine and AI generated app can be biased, we are human beings. So there is definitely a bag of biases that we bring to research and to our study, and which definitely influences the way we conduct our study. It also influences and impresses our findings. So the most important thing in a research thing is researcher's positionality. And I'm really interested in this. I got really interested in researcher's positionality when there was a paper published like a year ago almost, where it was published by predominantly quantitative researchers, and they talked about how useless it is to talk about yourself or to disclose yourself. Like they basically said that researchers' positionality, people who talk about their positionality in research studies, is totally pointless. And then that somehow like inspired me to think about it and to find out what really is researcher's positionality and what function and purpose it serves in the studies of a qualitative researcher. And that is that it is directly related to who you are and how you see the world. And then it makes you think about your biases that you bring to the study, and then you think about how those biases can influence the nature of your study, the findings of your study, and the conclusions that you draw based on those findings. So this is one phrase that I really love that I've written in bold, that from where do we speak? So this talks about the importance of a researcher's positionality, that the place from where you speak really influences the nature of your questions, the nature of your design, the nature of your findings, and the nature of your questions, the nature of your conclusions. Because as Gadamer said, that our standpoints limit what we can and cannot see. So just to give you like 10 brief examples, that positionality can be as simple thing as that. For example, as a male, when I talk about females, so who I am and what my gender is and what I'm talking about can have a very deep impact on each other. Because as a male, my standpoint would limit what I can see and cannot see about the lives of females. So this is why the researcher's positionality becomes an important thing to be thought about, to be disclosed in a researcher's in any study. So I was reading a paper written by Holmes, and Holmes talked about that other than many other things that can be part of our positionality, it's very important to disclose yourself, to locate yourself with reference to one, that which is who is being investigated. And the second, like, what is the subject that is, so the first is, what is the subject that is being investigated? And second, who are the participants? And then the third, where is this, what is the research context? So when you answer these questions and look at yourself with reference to what of the study, who of the study, and where of the study, you basically try to look how, with reference to these three things, you bring a certain baggage, a certain set of beliefs or biases that can potentially affect and change and influence the nature of the findings, the nature of the study. And this simply does not mean that you talk about, okay, in your researcher's positionality, you talk about, okay, I am Yasser and I'm from Astana, and this is my language, and I'm a PhD student, and I'm this tall, I'm this years old, I like this. Positionality is basically going beyond descriptions. So when I say that, okay, I am a male, I'm only talking about this aspect of my identity because I believe that this aspect of my identity has something to do with the nature of my study. So, and that is also not enough. You have to talk about in what ways me being as a male can influence the nature of my study. So this brings us to reflexivity. And so when you know that you as a male, or depending on the context, you as a male, you as like a Kazakh speaker or a Russian speaker, or you as a person from the US, whatever your identity, whatever aspect of your identity can influence the nature of the study. And then you think about, okay, if this is the bias that I brings to the study, if this part of my personality or identity influence this aspect of the study, how do I cure it? So this brings us to the reflexivity and self-reflection. So if I am in a situation where me being as a male can influence the nature of the study, and I find it out that, okay, this can influence the nature of the study, how do I solve this problem? So this is what reflexivity is, and this is what Holmes says, that reflexivity informs positionality. So coming to like a recent study that I conducted, I mean, it's some reflections from my data collection process. I collected data from a refugee camp in Pakistan. It was an Afghan refugee camp in Pakistan. So this gave me an opportunity to think about the context and my positionality and the implication of my positionality on the nature of the study, on the nature of the data collection. So when I thought about it in retrospect, and of course I thought about it back then as well, I would be an outsider here and there. Like in one moment, I would be an insider. In other moment, I would be an outsider. So my identity would change here and there, and depending on the different aspects of it. So thinking about that context is that as a resident of the same province, so the refugee camp is situated in a place, and I'm also from the same province. So what does this imply? It simply means that I have an easy access to that camp. So, and then talking about a shared ethnicity, I share ethnicity with those participants of the study. I shared a language with the participants of my study. And then when you think about it, okay, you have you speak the same language as your participants. What kind of implications it can have on the nature of the study, which means that the communication that I had with them was smooth. And the data that I collected was smooth because I understood their language, they understood my language, so language did not become a barrier. And this can have serious implications on someone who comes with a different language to this context. So stating these things in my positionality would really reflect and give an idea to the people that, okay, if you come with this positionality, the chances are you are going to get these kind of results. So if these things are different, you might get different results. So, and then like as a male, I was interviewing female participants, and then it turned out that, you know, it was totally different. And I realized that if a female had collected data in that context, the data would have been much different, or let's say much richer, and they would have felt more comfortable. So when you disclose these aspects, and another interesting thing before ending the presentation is that, like, when I was collecting data, when I would visit them and talk to them, though we shared a language, we shared an ethnicity, the only thing was that I was talking to them. To them, I was a citizen, but they were refugees. So there was this gap all of a sudden, in this situation, I became an outsider. And I could feel that during data collection, like sometimes they were being careful of sharing things with me because they saw me as an outsider. And I realized that if only I was a refugee too, they would have shared those things with much ease with me. So when you disclose these aspects of your positionality in a study, this also contributes to the reliability of the study. This also contributes to the transparency of the study. And it's also connected with the audit trail. So you talk about all these things. And if anybody who wants to conduct the same study, they have to think on these lines. They would know that if this person conducted this study in this context and this were the parts of his positionality that somehow affected the nature of the study, they would be cognizant of these aspects and they would know how to circumvent them or how to address them or how to deal with them. So this is why I believe that these two things, they really add to the transparency of a qualitative study, and it adds to the honesty as well. So when you come up with an audit trail and when you come up with your positionality statement that is beyond descriptions, like you talk about the things that can really influence the nature of your study, I think these are the two measures that would really, really contribute and add to the transparency of any qualitative study. And that's it from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Yasir. It was such an interesting presentation, on reflexivity, positionality, research in general, and audit trail. It was quite interesting to listen to these notions of transparency, trustworthiness, honesty, rigor in research. I think that the participants can also make a screenshot maybe, or take a picture of this list of references, because these are the key things that you need to learn. And then tradition of transparency in quantitative research, tradition of transparency in qualitative research, if you want to learn more and if you want to check also and get access to the presentations, I have just put it in chat. So dear participants, please check the following link with all the slides, the presentations, and thank you for all the presenters for kindly agreeing to upload your presentations and share it with the participants and attendees. And then I also posted the link to GSE books. If you want to learn more about ethics, you can also find some useful books on the GSE and UEDU.kz website with the books published in Russian, Kazakh, and English. So thank you so much, Yasir. Do you have any questions, these participants, attendees? You got any questions to our speaker today? So if we don't have any questions, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all of the presenters for delivering such insightful presentations on academic integrity, research ethics, culture of ethics, and your expertise and dedication truly shown thought, making this webinar, not only informative, but also engaging and thought-provoking, Your commitment to upholding ethical standards in academia, serves as a guiding, I think, light for all of us, So thank you so much once again for your invaluable contribution. And I would like to thank also the department, the one that has initiated and organized it, Zhanu Alpamysovna and her team, Toljan, Asya, Andrei, thank you so much. I would like, usually we take pictures, at the end, and I would like you to I would like all participants as well as speakers to presenters to open their web camera so that we can see your beautiful faces and take a screenshot. So maybe you can also click on, if you want to, the reaction, click on heart or thumbs up, So I can see Dinara, Артем, Ясир, Жанел Помысла, Андрей. How about others? Уважаемые участники, хотела попросить вас включить на минуточку камеры для того, чтобы сделать фотографию на память, Мы видим только ваши, к сожалению, аватары, но хотелось бы увидеть ваши лица, Виктория, Аяжан, Миржан, прошу открыть камеры. Алина. Откройте, пожалуйста, свои камеры. И на счет 1, 2, 3 я сделаю скриншот, да? Давайте. Открываем камеры. Аружан, Мирамгуль. Угу. Асем, Наурызгуль, Гульдана. Давайте. Угу. Жанат. Давайте. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Супер. Всем огромное спасибо. Thank you so much. Many thanks for all the attendees and participants for such a brilliant event and workshop. Жанел Помысовна, Рахмет сізге, спасибо вам за организацию такого мероприятия тоже.
Thank you very much.
Спасибо всем участникам. Казгю, Нарикбаев университет, да, Назарбаев университет и другие вузы, кто присоединился. До свидания, до скорых встреч. See you.
Спасибо.
Many
Спасибо
thanks to the speakers for joining us. Goodbye. Сау болыңыз.